UFC Vegas 113 takes place this weekend, and in this video, I'm going to be giving you my exact predictions for how I think every fight in the card is going to play out. So without further ado, let's get into the picks. First off, I would like to look at how I did last week to see if we can improve for this week. So at UFC 325, we went 10-3 on picks. I would say that is a pretty good picking percentage. We got Sulang Rangbo incorrect. Listen, I thought he was the better technical striker. I thought he offered more power. I thought he was a better prospect than Lawrence Louis. Turns out I was totally incorrect. I still think Yiza won that decision. Is it just me? Just me that thinks Yiza beat Khan Ofli? I feel like I shouldn't have that pick wrong. This card actually had high sweeping potential because only, what, 2 underdogs won? We could have easily swept this card. I also had Diego Lopez in the main event. I mean, what was that performance, Diego? How do you look worse in a rematch 1 year later and you had a fight in the interim and Volk has not had a fight? I don't understand how Volk completely masterclassed Diego for 5 rounds. Diego stood no chance the entire time. Didn't land his big shot. Volk just danced on him. Listen, shout out to Volk becoming the actual GOAT, not just a featherweight GOAT. Gotta tip my cap to that. I'm living in the era of one of the GOATs, so it is what it is. As for the wagers, well, we were negative 0.8 units. We had Saint-Denis by sub. He nearly got it on Dan Hooker. That would have made us positive, but of course he doesn't do it. Sulang Rangbo by KO. That was just a terrible read overall. The fight was a terrible read. The wager was a terrible read. We had Cam roasting in the under 1.5 rounds. Listen, that was 30 seconds away from hitting. I mean, come on now. I mean, he KOs him in round 2, but after the under 1.5 mark, like, you can't make these things up. And then also Diego Lopez. I mean, only underdog shot we took with our money, and it just didn't work out at all. So down 0.8 units. We were down 1.6 last week. Let's see if we can turn it around this week and make it all back at UFC Vegas 113. First up, we got women's mixed martial art madness. Last week we had 0 women's fights on the card. This week we actually have 3, and I'm going to break them all down quickly right now. First one is Priscilla Cachoeira taking on Claudia Segula. Now, Priscilla Cachoeira, she got flatlined 5 months ago, and at the women's level, getting flatlined is just a terrible, terrible look. That means you're really chinny, and you're chinny to less power because, you know, it's coming from a woman. But, you know, I didn't say that, neither here nor there. Claudia Segula is going to be 10 years younger, 4-inch reach advantage. She's been training with Kayla Harrison, Michelle Montag, Bia Mesquita, all women that want to take the fight to the ground and either submit you or ground and pound you. So in this one, Claudia Segula, her striking is pretty good, but Priscilla is pretty dangerous. So I think if Claudia just takes the path of least resistance, gets the takedowns, Priscilla is a nothing burger on the ground. Claudia should win this either by KO or by sub once it gets to the ground. So I'm going with Claudia Segula by finish in this one. Next women's mixed martial arts fight we're going to discuss is Kong Wang taking on Eduardo Mora. And if you guys are followers of Finn's chats, or if you guys are disciples of the channel, you would know that I despise Kong Wang. Not that she's a bad fighter, it's that she's just so one-dimensional. She's literally just a kickboxer. She's got no ground game. Her takedowns are mid. Or, you know, her submission defense is mid. There's nothing that jumps off the page about Kong Wang other than the fact that she fought Valentina Shevchenko in a kickboxing match many moons ago. Now, at the UFC level, she's fought a couple grapplers. Gabriela Fernandez, one of them. Gabriela Fernandez did submit her. She did knock her down first, but she did submit her. And then she just fought Ariana Lipski, who her takedowns were horrible, and she barely attempted to get any grappling exchanges going. Now, Eduardo Mora is not going to allow that to happen. Eduardo Mora is a Jailton Almeida disciple. She is going to press the action, whether it's working for her or it's not. She's going to shoot for infinite takedowns. She's going to get this fight to the ground. And once this fight gets to the ground with Eduardo Mora, the Brazilian, on top of Kong Wang, the Chinese woman, I can only think one of 2 things are going to happen. I think Eduardo Mora is either going to ground and pound her way to a finish, or she's just going to simply submit Kong Wang. And at plus 285, a huge price tag on a women's underdog that has a very, very viable path to victory. Also, it is the Apex, smaller cage, advantageous for the grappler. I'm going with Eduardo Mora by finish. against Kong Wang. I'm more leaning towards sub, but listen, if she gets Kong Wang to the ground, I think it's going to be clips. I think it's going to be wraps. I see a lot of people saying don't take Mora because she's at flyweight. She usually dominates at strawweight, but I'm not buying it, all right? Strawweight, flyweight, bantamweight, atomweight, heavyweight. Eduardo Mora is winning this one, in my opinion. And the final women's mixed martial art fight we're going to discuss on this video is Bruna Brazil taking on Ketlin Souza. And I have one simple question. What does Bruna Brazil do? Does anyone know? Does she throw with power? No. Does she have good submission skills? No. Does she shoot takedowns? Yes. But like I said, she has no submission skills. Does she throw with volume? No. What does she do? She sort of just stands there and looks at you intimidatingly. Ketlin Souza, at least, she throws with more power. She throws with more volume. I think Ketlin Souza has fought the better brand of competition. You know, she lost to Angela Hill in a razor-close matchup. I think Bruna Brazil will get smacked by Angela Hill. Minus 160. I'm liking this favorite, actually. So I'm going with Ketlin Souza to win by decision. Now, if you look closely at the screen, you will notice that we low-key have a cycle here with just women's fights. We have a Claudia Segula KO, and a Eduardo Mora sub, and a Ketlin Souza decision. So my guy Mushroom on X, on Twitter, follow me there if you don't, he has dubbed this the menstrual cycle. So take that as you may. It's not my joke, but I thought it was pretty clever. We also have a short notice fight, which is taking place at this card, which got booked yesterday. It is Nikolai Veretnikov taking on Niko Price. Now, Nikolai Veretnikov currently sits as a minus 300 favorite. If you had not told me that information and you just said, hey, Nikolai Veretnikov versus Niko Price, who wins? I would probably just simply take Nikolai Veretnikov, which I did. I went ahead and picked him. I think, you know, Niko Price has taken way too much damage. He's taken this on less than a week's notice. Nikolai at least has had a full camp, I believe, for this one. So I just don't trust Niko Price. His chin is made of glass. He has no takedown defense, and that's about it. Nikolai can shoot takedowns. I think that's how he's going to win. Niko Price, he could probably make this fight close, playing a tit-for-tat striking game. But outside of that narrow path to victory, Nikolai is going to win every other way. I think Nikolai can even submit Niko Price. So Nikolai by sub, maybe a long shot, you know, $5 wager or something like that. But yeah, I'm staying away from this one. Next up, we got Foregone Conclusions. These are basically every fight that I think the favorite is going to win at an extraordinarily high clip. And nothing I would have said in my breakdown would have swayed me to pick the underdog. So yeah, let's go. First one we got is Alex Morono taking on Daniil Danchenko. Alex Morono is on a 3-fight losing streak. He has looked worse and worse and worse in every one of those losses, and his knockout loss to Carlos Leal is not aging well whatsoever. On the other hand, we have Daniil Danchenko, 11 years younger than Morono, making his UFC debut after knocking out his tough opponent Rodrigo Centenato in the final a few months ago. Daniil Danchenko is going to come out here and throw with vicious power, get in Morono's face, and try to knock him out in round 1. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I'm going with Daniil Danchenko to defeat Alex Morono. I said round 2 on Tapology, but would not be shocked if he just starts firing at Morono and just knocks him out in round 1. Another foregone conclusion I have slated is Mikhail Oleksiejczuk taking on Marc-Andre Barriault. Now, in a striking battle, Mikhail Oleksiejczuk usually wins the power exchanges. He's usually the more powerful striker. In this one, I'm actually not entirely certain he does have more power. Marc-Andre Barriault plus 285. That is a high number for a guy that can potentially knock out his opponent. Marc-Andre Barriault can potentially take down Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. You know, there's a lot of factors going for Marc-Andre Barriault. Also, look at their record. 17-10, 21-9. It's not like Mikhail Oleksiejczuk is some type of world beater. I know he's on a recent career resurgence. He's a fighting nerd now. He has back-to-back KO wins, I believe. So now they're giving him someone super chinny that has been KO'd 3 times. We're expecting Mikhail to just run through Marc-Andre. And yeah, I'm going with that as well. I'm going with Mikhail Oleksiejczuk to find a round 1 finish. This is one of those fights, though, where if the underdog wins, no one's really going to be that shocked on Twitter. They're going to be like, wow, Power Bar is all the way back. Power Bar is making a run for the top 15. Whereas if Mikel Olejniczuk wins, it's like, oh my God, he knocked out Marc-Andre Barriault. But the odds don't suggest that. The odds are very wide in Mikel's favor. If Marc-Andre gets takedowns going, he's going to make this fight look a lot closer than it is. Another foregone conclusion I have is Amir Albazi taking on Kyoji Horiguchi. And Amir Albazi, what does he actually do? I don't know. He kind of is the male Bruno Brazil, you know? He doesn't throw with power. He doesn't throw with volume. He has takedowns, but he has no submission threat. He literally is the male Bruno Brazil. And at flyweight, sometimes it actually works out because finishes don't happen often. So if you can just keep a fight close, sometimes the judges will just give you that fight. Pure example is when Amir Albazi fought Kai Kara-France. He made the fight extremely close and ended up actually winning on 2 scorecards in a fight where he definitely lost. Now, Kyoji Horiguchi, career resurgence, career renaissance loading, just defeated Tagir Ulanbekov in a fight where a lot of people were writing him off. He goes out there, mauls him like we've never seen anyone maul Tagir before. I think Kyoji Horiguchi's going to have the power upside here. He's going to have the better BJJ, and I think he can get his takedowns going. Amir Albazi has never been finished, however, so I'm going with Kyoji Horiguchi to win this fight by decision. I think this is going to slot him up for a title shot, potentially, considering this is his UFC run part 2, and he'll have been 2-0 against 2 top 15 contenders. So let's go, Kyoji. I believe in you this weekend. This week marks the first time in history that both of the Basharat bros are fighting on the same card. I went back, I looked at every single matchup they've had in the UFC, multiple 5+, and not one time have they been on the same card. We're going to break down both of them right now. First one is Javid Basharat taking on Said Nurmagomedov. I don't think Said throws with any power at all. To beat Javid, Basharat needs to have power, or they need to have takedowns of their own. Does Said have either? Well, I don't think he has power. And he has decent takedowns, but his own takedown defense is actually quite mid. So I think on the feet, technically, Javid Basharat is the better striker. And I think if it were to go into the takedown realm, I think Javid Basharat is going to be the one shooting the takedowns. Also, keep in mind that Said Nurmagomedov is the underdog, and 74% of Topology is picking him. That is a lot of people picking an underdog, and the line isn't really moving. Said is remaining an underdog, although seemingly everyone is picking Said. So if you're picking Said, why are you not wagering on Said? He's an underdog. You think he's going to win? He's plus money. Well, that's why I'm going with Javid Basharat to win this fight by decision. I think he gets the takedowns going, and I think he has better volume striking than Said, and I don't think Said has much power to his name. The next Basharat bro fighting is Farid Basharat taking on Gene Matsumoto. Gene Matsumoto actually poses a pretty big threat to Farid. I mean, he's going to have a lot of power, and he has a nasty guillotine, and he's got decent submission upside. So those are things that Farid Basharat has struggled with in the past. However, if this were to just stay standing, Farid Basharat's going to be more technical on the feet. I think he's just simply the better striker. Gene Matsumoto has a very short reach. He's very small, just in general, and also for the weight class, which is saying something, considering this is one of the smallest weight classes you can be in. Also, Gene Matsumoto, 53% takedown defense, so if Farid Basharat were to go for takedowns like he usually does, they more than likely will work out. So on the feet, Farid's more technical. On the ground, Farid will probably be the one shooting takedowns. I'm going with Farid Basharat to win this by decision. So what I'm telling you basically is the Basharat bro parlay will smack this week. So you're welcome for that. And my sheep pick of the week. If you've been paying attention, we are 2-0 on sheep picks. And here's how a sheep pick works. It's basically a fighter that I see everyone and their grandmas taking for seemingly no reason, because the fighter just is not better than the other fighter. They're taking them because of recency bias. They're taking them because of hype. They're taking them because they're handsome. I don't know what it is, but it just seems like a majority of people this week are taking Jacob Wicklax. I think he is the sheep pick of the week. I've been correct 2 weeks in a row. I'm going to explain why I think he's the sheep pick. Here we go. So Jacob Wicklax, 76% of people are taking him this week, and he still remains a plus 110 underdog. What does that tell you? Well, that tells you that the people picking him aren't actually putting money on him. They're just plugging him in the tabology. And the people with actual money are actually putting money on Moeen Gafarov. Now, Jacob Wilklax, he's 1-0 in the UFC, and his only win is against a guy that is cut from the UFC in Patchy Mix. And in that fight, he threw with no power. Nothing jumped off the page with his striking. It was really his submission upside that jumps off the page. Jacob Wilklax will chase a guillotine this entire fight versus Gafarov. And Gafarov has a really bad tendency to throw himself in the guillotines. He nearly got guillotined by Rinya Nakamura. He got guillotined by Said Nurmagomedov. Moeen Gafarov only loses if he gets guillotined. Every other path to victory is available. Moeen Gafarov is the better striker technically and powerfully. And if it gets to the ground and Moeen's on top, he's going to land some vicious ground and pound. Jacob Wilklax literally only wins by guillotine. That's it. That's the only path. And for a plus 105, his only path is winning by guillotine. I'm going with Moeen Gafarov to win this actually by knockout. I think he's just too much on the feet for Wilklax. Patchy Mix is a nothing burger on the feet. And he was landing some good shots on Wilklax. So if he can do that, Moeen Gafarov, in my opinion, should have a field day in this matchup. Now for a more traditional style of breakdown, we got Dustin Jacoby taking on Julius Walker. Now, if you wipe away the names, the odds, and the faces of these fighters, and I told you that there is a guy that's 11 years younger than his opponent, he's 26 and the guy's 37, and he has the height and the reach advantages over his opponent, you would tell me, wow, that guy should be a minus 200 favorite. Well, what if I told you that guy was actually a plus 160 underdog, and his name is Julius Walker, and he's fighting Dustin Jacoby? Now all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I'm not backing Julius Walker. That guy stinks. Well, he doesn't stink, all right? Yes, he's gotten wobbled and rocked by Alonzo Menefield. Yes, he's gotten rocked and wobbled by Rafael Cerqueira. Not the best look. And also, yes, he's the only UFC fighter that has not finished Rafael Cerqueira, and Cerqueira has had 4 UFC fights. So you might say Julius Walker has no finishing upside. You might say Julius Walker is just a KO waiting to happen. But what I'll say to you is every time Dustin Jacoby is in a spot like this where we're like, yeah, Dustin Jacoby KO is going to slap this time, he usually underperforms and doesn't live up to the hype. Now, granted, last fight, Jacoby did live up to the hype. He didn't sleep Bruno Lopez in the first round. But Bruno Lopez, what does he offer to the table? He doesn't go for takedowns, and he just leaves his chin in the air to get cracked. Julius Walker, at least, is going to be shooting for takedowns. He's going to be pressing forward. He's going to be pressing the action. I trust Julius Walker more to win the minutes of this fight rather than Dustin Jacoby. I think Jacoby needs to land something big to turn the fight in his favor. He needs to land something big to win the fight. Julius Walker just has to do Julius Walker things for 15 minutes, and he wins. Move forward, press the action, land the takedowns. I'm going with Julius Walker to win this by decision. I don't think Jacoby's the one, you know? When I first looked at this matchup, I was like, oh, Jacoby round 1 KO. But now I was like, whoa. Let me dial back my sheep brain for a second. Julius Walker has a lot of good things going for him, so I'm taking him in this one. Next fight we're breaking down is Jailton Almeida taking on Rizvan Kuniev. Fair warning, this pick has a lot of bias, a complete bias. I love Jailton Almeida. I've picked him and wagered on him in every single UFC fight he's ever had, including Contender Series. And more often than not, this guy is making me money. However, lately, he's been making me sad, all right? Against Volkov, everyone in the comments tells me Volkov won that fight clearly. Well, I've watched it a million times. I don't know how you score that fight for Volkov. And if you can score that fight for Volkov, how does Almeida beat Rizvan Kuniev? He can control Rizvan Kuniev for 12 of the 15 minutes and still somehow lose this fight because Rizvan lands an elbow on the break. Almeida needs to stop being a puss, bro. Just start fighting, bro. I love you, Jailton. I'm one of your biggest fans, your biggest supporters. I'm also a Hamzat fan, so I guess it makes sense that I like Jailton. You just need to go out there and land a little ground and pound. Chase for submissions a little more. That's all you need to do to beat this guy, Rizvan Kuniev. We know Jailton's going to instantly shoot for a takedown. We know Jailton's going to get in a dominant position on Rizvan. What happens next is in God's hands. If Rizvan gets up, Jailton might be cooked. If round 3 starts, Jailton might be cooked. If round 2 starts, Jailton might be cooked. This pick has a lot of bias, and it makes no sense. Rizvan Kuniev at plus 130 probably is the right side to take. I'm going with Jailton Almeida to win this by decision. I know it seems completely outlandish to take Jailton by decision, because if it does go to decision and Jailton did not finish Rizvan, that means he probably didn't land any damage on him, which means there's no way he's winning a decision. But just let me cope, all right? I can't see my guy Jailton lose to this guy. This would be a horrific loss. This could potentially jolt Jailton out of the rankings. I can't have that happen. I won't see it happen. Please don't happen. And we got the main event, Mario Bautista taking on Vinicius Oliveira. When I first saw this matchup, my first instinct was to take Mario Bautista by decision. But when you actually break this down, it's a lot closer than you think. Both of these guys are well-rounded. Both of these guys are mainly strikers. Both of them throw with high volume, and both of them mix in takedowns. So the only way to accurately pick who's going to win is we have to kind of read between the lines and figure out the minor discrepancies that separate these two fighters. Now, in the clinch against the cage, Mario Bautista is going to win those exchanges. However, will that really matter? Does control time matter anymore? Ask Jailton. I don't think so. So Mario's going to need to get takedowns for that grappling upside to work, and Vinicius has an 80% takedown defense. I don't think it's going to be that easy to take down Vinicius. Also, power department. Who throws with more power? I think it's Vinicius Oliveira. So, if Vinicius Oliveira can match the volume of Mario Bautista, if Vinicius can defend the takedowns of Mario, go for takedowns of his own, and land big shots, I mean, Mario's got a 54% takedown defense. I think Vinicius Oliveira has a pretty good path to victory here. It seems like a mirror matchup. I would be taking Mario because he has a UFC experience upside, but this is a 5-rounder, and neither of them have ever been 5 rounds. So you can't even say Mario has, he has this 5-round experience, 5 rounds of cardio. You can't even say that. Can you say Mario even has better cardio at all? I don't even know if you can say that, because you look back at Vinicius' fights, and he wins round 3 in almost every single one of them. Like, he's not slowing down in round 3. So the cardio is kind of a question mark. And the power, I think Vinicius has more. So I'm going with Vinicius Oliveira to win this fight by KO. I don't think it's going to hit the scorecards. You know, it's bantamweight. Usually lower weight classes, they hit the scorecards. But for this one specifically, 2 guys that are thrown with lots of volume, constantly pressuring each other in the face, I think someone's going down. Vinicius does have 3 KO losses. That is concerning. Mario has been finished before. So I'm going with Vinicius by round 4 KO. And my confident takes, if you've been paying attention, these have been slapping at an extraordinarily high clip. Last week, every single confident take hit. And that's why I cashed out for piles. Not on my Bet MMA, of course. What am I, smart? No, of course, it was on wagers I didn't put publicly, so I can't really brag about them. Anyways, let's get into it. Claudia Segula moneyline. I think she has a very easy path to victory if she takes down Priscilla Cachoeira, and she should get it done. Muin Gafurov moneyline. Too many sheep on Wicklax. Muin Gafurov has the power upside. As long as he doesn't get guillotined, he should be fine. Ketlin Souza moneyline. Not sure what Bruna Brazil does at all. Ketlin Souza at least has power and has volume. Daniil Danchenko moneyline. Alex Morono is a bag of milk waiting to be KO'd, and Danchenko is the milkman. Mikhail Olajaychuk moneyline. Upon further evaluation, I'm not actually super confident in this one, but if Marc-Andre Barriel does not get takedowns, Mikhail should knock him out. And Kyoji Horiguchi moneyline. Once again, I don't know what Amir Albazi is good at in the octagon. And Kyoji Horiguchi just mauled Tagir Lembekov. 1 + 1 should equal 2. And my sneaky takes. These are basically every underdog that I have selected over the course of this card. And sometimes I'll throw in like a long shot prop, like a Mansour Abdul Malik by sub. Shout out me. But let's get into it. A Mora money line. Plus 285 for someone with a very viable path to win, which is grappling, which is getting the fight to the ground. Don't mind if I do. Julius Walker money line. 11 years younger, and he has the height and reach advantages. That's good enough for me. Vinicius Oliveira money line. Looking at these three underdogs, I'm like, dang. There's a really good chance to just go 0-3. I mean, Mora is plus 285. That's huge dog odds. Usually that doesn't work out. Julius Walker kind of seems like a KO waiting to happen. And Vinicius Oliveira is the prospect fighting the guy that's been in the UFC for years. So, yeah, it could go 0-3, but I think there's a lot of good cases to be made for these underdogs. Let me know in the comments who your favorite underdog of the week is, and I'll be catching you this Friday on the wagering video. Have a great rest of your day, you savage.